that day out, her spirits had begun to rise a bit. She found that she enjoyed being on the road again, although she missed Straw's companionship more than she would have thought. They were escorted by a troop of Red Guard knights, with whom she felt comfortable, although these were much more disciplined than the guards of the merchant armies. They were cordial and respectful towards her, despite her attempts to flirt with the man. Shemakas scolded her privately, saying the queen must maintain her royal dignity at all times. You mean I'm never to have any fun? Or such as these? They are beneath you. Graciousness is to be desired in those in authority. Familiarity is not. You will remain chaste and modest while you are in the imperial city. Barenziah screwed up her face. I might as well be back in Blackmore. Elves are promiscuous by nature, everyone says so. Everyone is wrong with that. Some are, some aren't. The Emperor and I expect you to show both discrimination and discretion. Let me remind you that you will hold the throne of Mournhold not by right of blood, but solely of the pleasure of Tiber Septim. If he judges you unsuitable for your reign, if he judges you unsuitable, your reign will end here it begins, where it begins. He requires intelligence, obedience, discretion, and total loyalty in all his appointees. And he favors chastity and modesty in women. I suggest that you model your deportment after Drelaine. I'd liefer be back in Blackmore, Barenziah said indignantly. That is not an option. If you are of no use to Tiber Septim, you will see to it that you are of no use to his enemies either. Shemakas said coldly. If you would keep your head upon your shoulders, take warning. Let me add, power offers pleasures other than those of carnality. Is that a word? And low company. He spoke of art, literature, drama, music, and grand balls. Barenziah listened with interest, spurred by his threats. But after, if she might continue her study of spellcasting while in the imperial city. Shemakas seemed pleased and promised to arrange it. Pleased with this, she then said that she noted that 3 of her knights were women, and asked if she might train a little in combat with them, just for the sake of exercise. Shemakas looked less than pleased, but agreed she might, although only with the women. The late winter weather held fair, but cold in their journey, so that they travelled quickly over firm roads. On the last day, spring seemed to come at last, for there was a thaw, and the road grew sloppily underfoot, and everywhere one could faintly hear the sound of water trickling and dripping. They came to the great bridge that crossed into Imperial City. Why did they not say the Imperial City? It's the Imperial City at sunset. The. There was a crowd of people of all sorts in the streets. Lights winked out in the shops and on the inns as dusk fell, and the stars came out one by one. Even the side streets were broad and which Tiber Septim had revived. He said that Barenziah would be expected to become a member, should she prove acceptable to the Emperor. Schmeckes' apartment was very grand, although little to Barenziah's liking. The walls and furnishings were stark white, relieved only by touches of bright gold. The floors of gleaming black marble. Barenziah's eyes ached for colour and shadow. In the morning, Schmeckes and Drulaine escorted her to the Imperial Palace. Barenziah noted that everyone they met greeted Schmeckes with a differential respect, which in some cases bordered on... Oh, Jesus. Which in some cases bordered on obsequious, which means trying too hard, basically. Too strict into it. He took it quite for granted. She and Schmeckes were ushered directly to the Imperial presence. Morning sun flooded the small room through a large window with tiny panes, washing over the breakfast table and the single man who sat there. Dark against the light, he leapt to his feet as they entered and hurried towards them. Ah, Schmeckes, my friend, I welcome thy return most gladly. His hands touched Schmeckes' shoulders briefly, fondly, interrupting the deep bow the elf had begun. Barenziah curtsied as Tiber Septim turned to her. Barenziah, my naughty little runaway, how do you do, child? Here, let me have a look at you. Why, Schmeckes, she's charming, absolutely charming. Why have you hidden her from us all these years? Is the light too much? Shall I draw the hangings? Yes, of course. He waved aside Schmeckes' protest and drew the curtains himself, not troubling to summon a servant. You will pardon me for this discourtesy to my guests. I've much to think of, but that's scant excuse for inhospitality. Ah, pray join me. There's some excellent fruit from the Black Marsh. They settled themselves at the table. Barenziah was astonished. Tiber Septim was nothing like the grim, grey giant warrior she pictured. He was only of middle height, half a head shorter than tall Schmeckes. Although he was well knit of figure and lithe in movement. He had a winning smile, bright, indeed piercing blue eyes, and a full head of stark white hair above a lined, weathered face. He might have been of any age, from 40 to 60. He pressed food and drink upon them, then repeated his question. Why has she left her home? Had her guardians been unkind to her? No, Excellency, Barenziah replied. In truth, no, although I fancied so at times. Schmeckes had made up a lie for her and Barenziah told it, although with misgivings. The stable boy Straw had convinced her that her guardians, unable to find a suitable husband for her, meant to sell her as a concubine in Mahad, and when a red guard had indeed come, she had panicked and fled with him. Tiber Septim seemed fascinated and listened rapidly. That's also rapid. Rapidly, because she was raptured, so it's rapidly, right? Listened rapidly as she provided details of her life as a merchant caravan girl. Why, 'tis like a ballad, he said. By the one, I'll have the court bard set it to music. What a charming boy you must have made. Schmeckes said, Barenziah stopped in some confusion. He said, well, that I no longer look much like a boy. I have grown in the past few months. She lowered her gaze in what she hoped looked like maiden modesty. He is a very discerning fellow. He is my... Damn it, let me try it again. realized that some time ago, but I was too ashamed to go home, and I do long for Morrowind. My soul pines for my old country. My dear, you shall go home, I promise you, but I pray you remain with us a little longer, that you may prepare yourself for the stern task with which I shall charge you. Barenziah gazed at him earnestly, heart beating hard. It was all working just as Schmackes had said it would. She felt a warm flush of gratitude towards him, but was careful to keep her attention focused on the Emperor. I am honored, Excellency, and wish most earnestly to serve you and this great empire. You have forged in any way that I can. It was the politic thing to say, but Barenziah really meant it. She was awed by the magnificence of the city and the discipline of order everywhere evident, and was excited at the prospect of being a part of it all. Plus, she felt quite drawn to Driver Septim. She could fuck him. By the way, you know, there's one thing while we're here, I just want to check how many more pages there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep forgetting to mention the author of this damn book. Shit, where are we? Nope. Yes. The author of the book is... Shit, where's my... I have to tell you what the name of the book is. Continuous Marrow is the author of this book. Mouse, please, just... Where were we? Right. After a few days, Schmackes left for Mournhold to take up his duties as governor until Barenziah was ready to assume the throne, after which he would become her prime minister. Barenziah, with Drelaine as chaperone, which I don't mind fucking up Schmackes' name, Schmack, but I do have a little bit of respect for Drelaine. As chaperone, took up residence in a suite at the palace. Several tutors were provided for her. During this time, she became deeply interested in the magical arts, but she found the study of history and politics not all to her taste. On occasion, she met Driver Septim in the palace gardens, and he would unfailingly inquire politely as to her progress, and chide her, although with a smile, over her disinterest in matters of state. However, he was always happy to instruct her on fine points of magic, and he could even that's what it says. He could make even history. Oh, I see what that's trying to say now. Let me try it again. And he could make even history and politics seem interesting after all. They are people, John, not dry facts in a dusty book, he said, as her understanding broadened. Their discussions became longer, deeper, and more frequent. He spoke to her of his vision of a united Tamriel, each race separate and distinct, but with shared ideas and goals, all contributing to the common wheel? Is that a word? I'm gonna look that up. Because a wheel, wait, how do you say that word? Yep, wheel, like the wheels of the bus that go round and round, is a red swollen mark left on flesh by a blow or pressure. Don't know what that relates to. A metaphor for the entirety of Tamriel, but I don't know, whatever. Some things are universal, shared by all sentient folk of goodwill, he said. So the one teaches us, who's the one? The one teaches us we must unite against the malicious and brutish, the miscreated, the orcs, the trolls, the goblins, and other worse creatures. That spelling of creatures is wrong, sure. Not strive against one another. So orcs are bad. Oh, so races against orcs. Interesting. So who's the one? Is the one him? Because, I mean, it's what was the name of the religion? Was there a religion? It was just Time of Septim. Did he have another name? Time of Septim has a bunch of names. But it was... Shit, no, it did have a name, didn't it? It's like Tartarus, it's like... No, it doesn't matter. His blue eyes would light as he stared into his dream. And Barenziah was delighted just to sit and listen to him. If he drew close to her, the side of her body next to him would glow as if he were on fire. If their hands met, she would tingle all over, as if his body would charge with a... But does she marry him? I forgot. I'm not quite sure what happens here. Yeah, we'll thread on. Yeah, okay. I'm still thinking about his name. You know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna look it up. No, finish your paragraph. I'll lose your place. Of what it is. If their hands met, she would tingle all over, as if his body would charge with a small shock spell. Maybe it is. One day, quite unexpectedly, he took her face in his hands and kissed her gently on the mouth. Oh, she drew back after a few moments, astonished by the violence of her feelings. And he apologized instantly. I didn't mean to do that. It's just... You were so beautiful, my dear. You were so very beautiful. He was looking at her with a hopeless yearning in his face. She turned away, ears streaming down her face. Are you angry with me? Talk to me. Barenziah shook her head. I could never be angry with you. I love you. I know it's wrong, but I can't help it. I have a wife, he said. She is a good and virtuous woman, and the mother of my children. I could never put her astride. Yet there is nothing between us, no sharing of the spirit. She would have had me be other than what I am. I am the most powerful man in all of Tamriel, and Barenziah, I think I am the most lonely as well. Power! He said with contempt. I'll trade a goodly share of it for youth and love, if the gods allow it. But you are strong and vigorous and vital, more than any man I've ever known. He shook his head. Today, perhaps. Yet, I am less than I was yesterday. Last year, 10 years ago, I feel the sting of my mortality, and it is painful. If I can ease thy pain, let me do so, Barenziah moved towards him, hands outstretched. I would not take thy innocence from thee. I am not innocent. Oh, here it goes. How so? Tiber said his voice grated harshly, his brow knitted. Barenziah's mouth went dry. What had she done? Oh no, you fucked it all up, woman. There was straw, she faltered. I was lonely too. Am lonely and not so strong as you. She cast her eyes down in embarrassment. I am not worthy. No, not so, Barenziah. It cannot last for long. You have a duty in Mournhold. I must tend my emperor. Shall we share what we may, and pray the one forgives us our frailty. Shit, there's more. God damn it, hang on, I'm in the middle of looking up. Let me look up the name of Time of Septim. Okay, so I cannot believe I forgot the name of Time of Septim. It's Talos! Maybe they're talking about Talos. Maybe he becomes Talos. In any case, Time of Septim held out his arms, and wordlessly, Barenziah stepped into his embrace. So that was, what was his name again? Do I have to? The Real Barenziah Part 5, not 6, this is my phone, by Politius Mero. So tune in next, where we will either have part 6, possibly tomorrow, or just regular Daggerfall episode. And we'll, sometime in the future, part 6 will come. But for now, my name is Leo, and I will see you